just getting technical difficulties.
Welcome to Babes with Books. For our what is it, October already?
Yeah,
feels like
the middle of October.
Feels like December.
It's terrible.
It's snowing out.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're watching us from, but it is cold here. So we are coming to you live from Pandora's Books and Tea in Olds, Alberta. And tonight, for those of you who were expecting a multi-author event, we apologize. We had some cancellations of our scheduling difficulties with our authors, but never fear, we are still here to talk to you about books. We are planning on talking to you about what we love and what we hate, some of our favorite books of all times and some of our most hated books of all times. We might make you guess.
I hate using the word hate.
I'm okay with using the word hate. Sometimes you just have to hate a book. But we're going to tell you why we love and hate those books. And of course, this is open to discussion because some of the books we hate when some of the books we love might be controversial. So I will remind you that we would love to hear from you. We are watching our feed. So if there's any questions or comments or things that you just want us to let everybody know, then please comment on our feed and we will try and catch them as soon as we can. So yeah, I guess to start with, Maya couldn't make it today, unfortunately, so she sends her regards, but maybe she'll be joining us online, so I'm sure she'll have some piping up to do as well. So I guess we'll start with, maybe we'll do like one book we love and then one book we hate. So, you know, it's fuzzy, it's warm. Let's start with love tonight, because what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Yes. So, tell me a book you love. What do you love?
Well, I have to say, I couldn't find a copy. I should have brought some from home because my husband keeps trying to throw them out and I won't let him, but I love Nancy Drew books. So I have my hardcover Nancy Drew books that I got when I was a kid. I don't revisit them. I should read them. That's his argument, is I don't read them, so why do I have them? But they have a very special
spot. You should have asked that tall, handsome man that works at Pandora's. He might have been able to find some Nancy Drew books.
Yeah.
I hear he's pretty handsome.
Yeah.
But I think he's taken. So, sorry, ladies.
Yeah. So Nancy Drew, not that it's amazing writing or anything, but it's what I learned to read. Like if I go back through my books, my great-grandmother always used to give them to me when I got a good report card or finished a grade or whatever, and so she'd also sign in them her name and the year. So one of my first ones is from 1977. So I was only 7 years old and I was reading Nancy Drew books, which I think was pretty darn good.
That's pretty advanced.
Yeah.
So you were a reader growing up?
I was a reader growing up, for sure. So that's kind of why I hang on to them so much, because I think that was part of my childhood. There's pictures of me on my dad's lap reading books.
I think a lot of people have connections to those nostalgic books they read when they were growing up. I wasn't really a reader growing up. I struggled with reading, so some of the first books I read were even like in junior high. So I feel like I missed out on this whole fantastic world of things like Nancy Drew. I did read the Bobbsey Twins, a couple of Bobbsey Twins books, so I had those, but definitely. We forgot to make people guess whether we liked Rain.
Oh, well.
So now we're not. It might be love, it might be hate. We're just going to grab a book and see. So
you have to do a love one first.
I have to do a love one first. Well, I'll start with the obvious. Yeah. This is my favorite book of probably all time. I don't say that very often, but I absolutely love Patrick Rothfuss, and I wish he would get the next book in the series done. But I'm sure he's heard that like a million times before. So the reason I love this book, Name of the Wind, is about a man that he has become quite famous, but he starts out not being so famous, and he's kind of hiding from the world in this bar, and we find out his story. And so he's growing up, and it has magic in it. It has, he goes to university for magic, which kind of fills my love of everything Harry Potter. So I liked that whole concept of Magic University. But I think what I loved most about this book was just he was a musical performer in the book, and the writing reflected it. I felt like I was listening to music as I was reading this book. So I felt it was a very poetically written, and it really pulled me into the story. And I don't normally read for that reason, for the language, but this one and the series that follows is definitely one of those.
Well, I have it on my list because you've recommended it for sure.
Well, get on it.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to pull out a book.
Pull a book.
People have to guess whether we
Love it or hate it. Yeah.
Okay. Or you have to guess.
I'll guess.
Okay. I'm going to hold up John Grisham, The Client.
Well, John Grisham's pretty popular amongst the world. And Shauna, I'm not sure. I'm going to say you love it.
Well, I thought I would love it because I really enjoyed the Firm movie. So I thought, I'll read one of those books. And this one happened to be around at home or something. I can't remember where I even got it from, but I just grabbed this one copy off your shelf. But I thought for sure I would love it. And yeah, no. I'm not a fan of lawyer books.
So what was it about it that made you not love it?
I think that and you think I would because it is a character kind of, he writes about the characters in the book, so I'm a character person, but I don't know, I just found it kind of boring. Just didn't seem to appeal to me. And I don't even watch those law shows that people always.
So was it the pace?
Maybe
you need more fast-paced books.
I don't know.
So we're going to talk a little bit later or throughout about why people love and why people hate books. I have a theory based on a course I took in librarian school.
Of course.
But
so that was a hate. Well, not hate. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it. I did finish it, but I was like, nah, I'm not reading another John Grisham book. So I do not read John Grisham books.
Do we have any comments on those? While she's looking, I'm going to pull out another one. Another really popular book, 50 Shades of Grey. Did I love it? Did I hate it?
Mm-hmm.
It's really popular. Do I look like I like popular? I do like pop music. What do you think? Love it or hate it?
I think you're a typical girl, so you loved it.
Ha! Ha! You don't know me at all. I hated this book. I read it. I read the whole thing though. Normally, okay, so do you finish reading books when you hate them?
I do, yeah. But, well, I did.
When you started, you have to finish it? Or?
I have not. The past 2 years, if I don't like a book, I
Is it because I told you that you only have so many books to read?
Exactly, yes. You scared me.
I know. I scare a lot of people.
Terrible.
So think about this. Think about this, okay? If you're, let's just to have round numbers. Let's say you can read 20 books a year. So think about that. You probably read more than that. Some of you might read less, but let's just take 20 as a nice round number. And I'm 40. I'll admit that. So I got about 40 more years left in me, maybe. So then you do the math. 40 times 20.
It's not enough.
800 books left in my life to read. 800 in my entire life. Yeah, makes you be a lot more choosy.
And you lost part of your life to that
I lost part of my life to this book. So I did read this book because I'm a librarian, and I felt that I needed to know what the hype was about. And there's so many people that love these books, and so I was like, oh well, let's read it. I was not offended by the sex. I have no problem with reading books about sex. I was offended by the writing. And the entire time, and I mean, ultimately the same sex scene over and over and over and over again too. Like, it makes me really sad because books like this, I'm sorry, E.L. James, I'm sure you've heard this before, but how much money did she make off this book? And then, you know, people that are writing and refining and working so hard to get published in this world are not getting through, and that this stuff is. So it makes you wonder, like, do you just sell out and write trash, or what? Sorry, we just got depressing. But I hate this book.
I hate that book too.
I thought you said hate was a strong word.
I have to say I hated that.
I thought you said hate was a strong word.
I know, but I hated that book.
Just made Shauna hate something.
I did hate that book. I did read the whole thing too, because
But
I had to.
if you
see,
love-
does it get better?
If you loved this book, we do not hate you.
No, I love you still.
We love you still, and everyone has different tastes, and that's okay.
Even though you can. No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
So
have-
Desmond says that he and his dad like Clive Cussler. Who was right behind us.
Yeah,
Clive
I actually really like Clive Cussler. Where is he?
Cussler.
I don't know. We can't find him right now, but he's behind us somewhere.
Here he is. Right on my head.
So Clive Cussler, we'll ask you to comment if you can, Desmond, of why you like Clive Cussler. But he writes a lot of adventure fiction. He has very high, fast pace, and I think that that's pretty much a typical thing nowadays with what people like to read.
Yeah.
I think part of that comes with like we're so busy and we want quick read, something that's fast. So I think people are reading for fast-paced plots a lot more. So there's four things that people read for. 4 things.
Okay.
First, plot. Some people are like, it needs to be fast-paced, short chapters. The Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code was kind of the first, well, not the first, but one of those ones that fits in that category. You can read it quick, and it's really interesting the entire way through. Then there's setting. Some people really like rich settings. They like books that are set in specific places. Those are the people that read for setting. There is language, so people that like Name of the Wind would probably read for very poetic reasons. They like stuff that is really well written. And then character is the last one. So lots of character development. You want to know what happens to the characters, and you really get disappointed when bad things happen to the characters. So those are the 4 things that people typically read for, and everyone reads for something different or a combination of. And if you think about the books that you loved the most, you'll kind of figure out what you like. And in librarian school, they tell you should find that out, because a book that I like, when someone asks me what have you just read that you loved, I don't feel comfortable saying, here, you should read this, you love it, until I know what they like to read, because everyone reads for different reasons. So Name of the Wind I loved because you'll be able to tell at the end of the night what we read for. So this one I liked because it was very well written and very poetic. This one I did not like because it was terribly written. I don't know. This might be a theme.
Could be. Okay.
Whose turn is it?
Mine.
Okay.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. You loved it.
Yes, I did.
How can you not?
Exactly.
I loved it too.
Yeah. Compare this to that. I mean, really.
So why did you love it?
I like the fast pace. I love the characters. They were just like Katniss's strong girl character was like this is the book that I wish someone would have had for me when I was young, right? Like when I was a preteen and teenager, because this would have been a really inspiring.
Would
awesome
it made you
book.
love reading more?
I think so. Yeah.
I love books like these because they're really getting some of those kids that would not pick up a book to pick up a book.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're criticized. Like this one has been criticized for its violence a lot.
Yeah.
So do you think we need to protect our kids from reading stuff like that?
No, I think we need to have conversations about this stuff and reading things like this and having the parents read it too, because I read it when my kids read it actually, and having conversations about did that scare you? What did you think of that whole dystopian society stuff? And it started great conversations between my daughter and I about this book. She begged me to tell her, because I got finished before she did. She begged me to tell her what was happening. I'm like, no, I'm not telling her.
People the end.
No. So anyway, it was fun. It was really a great experience to have together as well. So.
All right. Well. Speaking of the young adult genre, Twilight, super popular. Love it, hate it.
I know you hated that book.
I hated this book. For different reasons, though. So, funny story about this book. When it first came out, actually, no, obviously it had been out for a while, and somehow it kind of went under my radar. I think I'd heard of it, and I was like, yeah, I should read that book, but I'd never read it. And then this movie came into the theaters, and it was about vampires, and my boyfriend at the time, I guess he's still my boyfriend, he was like, hey, I like vampire movies, like Interview with a Vampire. So I was like, oh, there's a new vampire movie out. He likes Underworld. So I was like, let's go see the vampire movie. So we get into the theater and we look around, and it's all like 12, 13-year-old girls. And he looks at me, he's like, what did you bring me to? I don't know, a vampire movie. Anyways, it was really funny because when Pattinson came on the screen, the whole theater went, oh my goodness! And Jason almost got up and left. It was quite funny. So that was this book. So the reason I did not like this book, and that I have a problem with young adult fiction these days for this reason, not because they're particularly poorly written or a terrible story. I think this is a decent story. I like the idea of, you know, vampires versus werewolves, and that being in this small town, and I actually read all of them, even though I did not like the writing in particular, but I felt that it was a little unrealistic. So as far as teenage love goes, I know that it's really easy to just fall head over heels when you're a teenager, but come on, like, she falls so head over heels for this 150-year-old vampire dude that is like, okay, this is okay. It was completely unrealistic in my mind, and that followed through, and then she has a kid by him, and it's a I know it's fantasy, but it was very even unrealistic fantasy to me. So, and I think the same thing happens in a lot of these things, like even Hunger Games is another good example of this, as well as the Divergent series, which I thought was a really decent series. Where are the adults? Like, there's all this stuff going on, and the kids have to figure it out. And I know that that's the way young adults, kids have to save the world, but where are the adults? Like, it's a little unrealistic in that mindset. So that's kind of why I didn't like Twilight. One of the reasons. It was also poorly written. But it was written for young adults, so I think that you have to take that into consideration. It was well written for a young adult book. Decent.
Okay. I'm going to jump down here to the Da Vinci Code.
What do you think? I think you loved it.
Damn it, you know me too well. I did love it. I got this for Christmas when it came out, and I wouldn't speak to my family for 2 days. It took me 2 days to read it, and I didn't speak to my family. I didn't shower. I said, just stay away from me. I'm trying to read this book. It was bad. It was really bad. I really, really liked the intrigue, and it came at a time where I was questioning my religious faith as well, which was really interesting because there's so much of that in there. It's just a story, but
anything that makes you consider what if is a great thing.
Exactly.
I love books that make you consider your life in general and question. Even if you come up with the same results at the end of what you believed before, if it makes you question and think, then that to me is awesome. Yeah. So I loved this book too, and I loved it because the chapters were so short, and it was like you finish a chapter and you're like, what's next? What's the next chapter? Sisters, Brothers, I love that one for the same reason. You finish a chapter, you had to read the next one. So that's one of the themes in my repertoire as well. So yeah, looks like our feed is going crazy over there.
Yeah. But you liked Hunger Games. I'm not sure who's commenting as Pandora's books.
Probably Maya.
Oh, okay. But you liked Hunger Games.
Why did I like Hunger Games and not Twilight? Why is it different?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the relationships in Hunger Games were more realistic. Twilight, the reason I didn't like Twilight was not necessarily because of it being implausible. I can suspend my disbelief. I enjoyed Divergent even though I was like, where are the adults? Same with this. I enjoyed it even though where are the adults? And this one, it was set up as the kids were the ones picked to be in these Hunger Games. The adults were part of it, but the adults didn't have any control over having to sacrifice their kids to that. Right. Whereas sometimes it's like in Divergent, as an example, the kids are just figuring it all out.
Yeah,
You never really hear about the adults, so that's why.
Okay. When Desmond says, to give you the reason why he likes Clive Cussler, same type of thing over and over, and it always hooks me how he starts and ends it.
Cool. Yeah, a good hook.
Action.
Yeah. So another one on my list, Ready Player One. Love it, hate it.
Ready Player One. Sounds like a game kind of book, so you must love it.
I love it. I'm such a super geek. I cannot wait for this movie to come out, and I hope that it doesn't disappoint me because I will cry. But I love this book. I don't know. Now I'm like, do I like it more than Name of the Wind? I don't know. I don't think so, but so this is about a young boy who the world, it's a dystopian world, and I do like dystopian worlds, and basically the world sucks so much that everyone lives in this virtual world. And the creator of this virtual world dies. And he leaves his inheritance to whoever can figure and find out all the Easter eggs. So for those of you that like to find all the Easter eggs in movies and all of that kind of stuff, in video games particularly, you'll love this. I thought this was great. There was tons of 80s references.
Oh, was there?
A lot of the video games were like old 80s old school video games.
I'll have to read
the music in this, all the music references were from the 80s, and so I was like, yeah, my childhood, this is awesome. But yet it was still like a young, it's just, everyone should read this book, and I don't know what I'll
Maya's
do.
saying she can't wait to read Ready Player One. Haven't gotten my hands on it yet.
I have a copy, you can borrow it.
Oh, and Maya liked Da Vinci Code as well. Such a fun puzzle.
There's a new Dan Brown out, Origins. I don't know if anyone's read it.
Yeah, I haven't.
It's on my list.
I see we both have
Let's
a Michael
talk about them at the
Crichton
same time.
book.
Michael Crichton. I think Desmond would like Michael Crichton if he likes Clive Cussler.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, hate it.
I think you didn't like it.
You think I hated it? Did you love yours?
What do you think?
I think you loved it.
I hated that book.
You hated it. I love this book.
I hated it.
All right. Why'd you hate it?
It was just weird. It was just way too weird.
I like weird. I haven't read that one.
Now that I've read this one quite a while ago, and I see you've got Boox and Crake.
Oh, sorry.
Similar sort of things there. Yeah, you gave it to them. Similar sorts of weird sort of things, but that's way, way, way better than this one.
Yeah, I haven't read that one.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the same theme.
Yeah.
This one was all nanotechnology. I like my sci-fi. I thought it was plausible. Again, this was another one that I was like, what if? I think it's books that like the Da Vinci Code, I was like, I wonder if that's true or not. And then like a fiction book that you know is clearly fiction, but could maybe happen, is really intriguing to me. So I was like, oh, all these nanotechnology things take over, and madness ensues, and it's just a really good adventure fiction book. So I like Michael Crichton in general. He of course writes the Jurassic Park series, which I thought was great. They make good movies as well, and I think that speaks to how well he does his action adventure. So Michael Crichton, is he so? I don't know. I shouldn't say. I shouldn't start rumors online. It's fake news.
Tell us what. Whose turn is it?
I don't know, but I have these in front of me.
Okay.
So, Margaret Atwood. I love you. If you are watching this, Margaret, I would be so honored. You're probably not, but maybe one day. She is one of my favorite. I'm not even going to ask you if I loved it. I loved this series, and in general, I like most of the stuff, especially the newer stuff that she's been putting out. So the nice thing about Margaret Atwood is that she puts stuff in her books that are like, they're most of the time they're set in the not too distant future. And all of the stuff in her book, she's researched. She has bibliographies in the back that says this is the research that's being done on this. So this is Oryx and Crake is about a dystopian society where a virus is unleashed and most people die, and it's about the survivors. And kind of how it got there. So then you get to the Year of the Flood, and it's the exact same story, told from another character in the book, which I thought was genius. And then you get the final denouement, Mad Adam, which again is the same story told from yet another different perspective. Yet at the same time, you get completely different stories, and it progresses just a little bit more. So coupled with the fact that there was realistic, researched things that are happening right now that were in here, like meat growing on trees, that type of thing that you think, that's not real, but it's actually being developed right now. You can print meat with a 3D printer, right? But solving the world, like you can see why these things are being developed, and then what happens, or her take on what might happen. And of course, Handmaid's Tale was written years ago, and everyone's like, oh, look at this new book. It's not a new book, everyone. It's an old book.
It in 1989.
It just came out as a series. But yet again, for her to write something in 1980 that is so relevant still today, I don't know. It just speaks to how wonderful she is. So I love you, Margaret Atwood. Please come visit me.
I agree. I'm so glad you told me to read that. I loved it as well. That was another one that I really had a hard time putting down. I was reading it on my Kobo, and I was staying up really late at night. Philippa Gregory books.
You love those, for sure.
Yeah, let's just face it. It's romance characters. Yeah,
romantic historical fiction.
Yeah, that's pretty much
it's her life.
One true love. Yes. I would like to write like Philippa Gregory does, but I think she's good. I don't know. Maya probably doesn't like her.
Maya, do you like her?
Let's hear it. Oh. Melody says Crichton is amazing. Stephanie Richards says Handmaid's Tale. I still have nightmares.
Yes, Handmaid's Tale. Don't we all still have nightmares?
Yes. Maya hates Shopaholic and Girl on a Train. See, I like Girl on a Train.
Interesting, because that's another controversial one, Girl on a Train, right? And I know Maya and I, we've had a few conversations about that, but...
She loves Guy Gabriel Kay. I have not read any of his books, but they're on my list now because I saw him at our writers' conference.
We went to a writers' conference that Maya couldn't go to, and he was there.
Oh, he was so amazing. I don't know how I've missed his books over the years.
We're almost running out of time.
Yeah, we're almost running out of time. Okay.
Let's do this one.
The Hobbit.
Well, you loved it, of course. I mean, it's The Hobbit.
I love the movie, The Hobbit. I did not love the book.
I can't be your friend.
I know.
We're not friends anymore.
I could not read this book. I've tried to read it a couple different times with by myself, and I also tried to read it with my son, my oldest.
It's so interesting, actually. So, I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien isn't for everybody. He's very descriptive. So that's for those people that really like descriptive language. I think, though, that The Hobbit, I was a reluctant reader. This is the second book I finished, but I finished it with my tutor. It has dragons. Like,
I know.
How do you not?
I should have loved that book. I know. I love the movies.
So why don't you like it?
It was just really hard to get through. Like, look at all those words. Too many words. I know. And I've read a whole bunch of these.
Did you like those?
In my 20s, I read a whole bunch of these books.
So don't even. So much.
It's not hard words, though. These are like caveman words.
This is a juvenile book. This is a young adult book.
I know, but I don't know.
I don't think you tried hard enough.
I'll have to try
Everyone
again.
reads for different reasons.
Try again.
No, it probably just doesn't fit that thing with you. Like, you like historical.
And there's good characters. I don't know. I just couldn't do it.
Anyways, we're running out of time, so we are going to stop talking now. But I do want you guys to finish the conversation or keep the conversation going. So if there's books that you love, tell us why you love them in either the link down below on YouTube or Facebook Live. I think it's somewhere. Anyways, comment and let us know what you love. Let us know what you hate. Let everyone know what not to read, because we only have so many books to read in our lifetime. But tell them why, because that's important. Also, we do a draw every month of people that like and share our event. And Pandora's Books and Tea donates a $10 gift certificate to the winner every month. So I will draw for that now. All you have to do to enter is to go to our next event once it's posted, share it with your friends, say that you're going, and we will put you in the draw. And we have Marnie Reagan is our winner.
Hey, Marnie.
So yay, Marnie, you can just come down to Pandora's and pick that up. And anytime, talk to that tall, dark, handsome guy behind the counter. And what? I'm allowed to say that.
Yes, you are. Not you, but you are.
All right. Well,
Thanks,
thank you.
Thanks also to Kirsten behind the scenes here tonight.
Boox Community TV does all our filming for us, and we love them. They're awesome. So you can also see us on channel 148. And yes, 148 on Own It.
And I've heard we're at the arena. We're famous.
I know.
We're on
Everyone
TV at the
watches
arena.
it. Who knew? Who knew?
Too funny.
Thank you all
Thanks,
for joining
guys.
us.
Have a good night.
See you next time.